So once the footage emerged from the attack site, we have seen that the two terrorists took a taxi, killed the taxi driver, and attacked the entrance of the defense company. And the gear that they used, the equipment they had, the weapons they hold, and the suicide bags they had with them, which exploded later on, indicated that this was an attack by the PKK, not ISIS, as one of the assailants was a woman without a hijab. And the way of how this attack was conducted required a certain level of know-how that other terrorist organizations do not possess. And later on, we heard from the Turkish media about the identity of one of the attackers, the man. He's a Turkish citizen born in '92 who joined the PKK years ago. So all of the indications clearly point towards the PKK. And many analysts like me, seeing the footage, fastly assumed that it was the PKK, and it appears that the Turkish state has come to the same conclusion. It's not the first of such an attack by the PKK, and it's usual for the PKK to not claim responsibility as part of the strategy of a terror attack.
And you're near where this happened, near Ankara. What can you tell us about this facility, the security there, and are you surprised or not that these attackers were able to get where they got to?
I'm actually shocked that this attack happened because the site of the attack is quite outside of Ankara. It is in the northwest. It is an area which has many different defense companies. It's a highly secure area. It is not among a civilian infrastructure. It is almost a secluded area. So conducting this attack required a huge level of know-how, and it's quite shocking to see the security breach here and to see how the terrorists were able to infiltrate this area in which basically no one else other than the defense companies exist. So it was a shock, and for the Turkish people it was a shock as well. And we have to remember that this happens after Erdogan's coalition partner Devlet Bahçeli, the Nationalist Party's leader, called for the PKK's imprisoned leader to be released from prison if he is willing to declare the end of the PKK at the Turkish parliament. And this was a shocking moment for the Turkish public, a historic moment maybe, but yesterday's attack, just 24 hours after this statement was given by Nationalist Party leader, it has shocked the Turkish public. So the Turkish public is in shock over shock, and it is very tragic to see that the company that is one of the major defense companies in Turkey that is going to produce Turkish fighter jet, that is producing the Turkish drones, which are highly effective in Turkish counterterrorism strategy, has been attacked, and that they could be targeted is very shocking and something no one expected.
And now, just for people here in Australia who might be unfamiliar with the history of the Kurds in the region and the PKK, tell us how many Kurds live in Turkey and where do they predominantly live?
So the exact number of Kurds is unknown, as there are no ethnic surveys conducted by the state or data, but it's approximately 10 to 15% of the Turkish population, and they predominantly, most of them live in Istanbul and then in the southeast of Turkey. And Turkish Kurds are an integral part of the Turkish society, as the current Turkish foreign minister or the Turkish economic minister are of Kurdish origin. And the PKK is an armed militant group recognized as a terrorist organization by NATO and other several European states and other states in the region, who is conducting and waging a terror campaign against the Turkish people for over 4 decades now.
And what is its goal?
The main goal of the PKK has changed over the course of history. Initially, it started for an independent state, then they changed their goal towards an autonomous region, and recently they have a wage goal of increasing the rights of the Kurds. But while this happens in Turkey, it's not only limited with Turkey. They have also goals in Iran, in Iraq, in Syria. In Syria, the Syrian offshore of the PKK, the so-called YPG, has basically its own statelet. It's operating there, and named the North and East Autonomous Administration of North and East Syria, in which they collect money, taxes, they have their own banking infrastructure, they have oil production sites. So the PKK is not limited to Turkey, but to it's more encompassing the region. And its main goal, ultimately, is to establish an independent state or autonomous regions, and it's shifting from time to time depending on the circumstances of the region.
And how much has the PKK achieved over the years in terms of control of territory within Türkiye?
Control of territory within Turkey did not happen. The PKK was only able to control the areas inside Turkey for a very short period of time, but the Turkish security force over these 4 decades never relented territory towards the PKK. However, the PKK's terror activities come with a huge cost. Over these 4 decades, we have almost 50,000 citizens who died in the terror attacks of the PKK. We have seen several terror attacks, car bombs, suicide bombs, and specific targeting of marketplaces, civilian gatherings by the PKK, the killing of babies, and the killing of Kurdish civilians who refused the PKK's presence in their village in the countryside have been killed. And but since 2016, the Turkish state has changed its strategy from combating the PKK inside Turkey to combating the PKK outside of Turkey. And since then, we have seen that the presence of the PKK inside Turkey has decreased massively. So this attack is something rare over the last years. The Turkish inside Turkey, the situation is relatively secure. And this attack is shocking because it did not happen for quite a long time. Yeah. But the PKK's presence inside Syria and Iraq is what is keeping the terror organization alive.
But what does this latest attack indicate about the ongoing challenges for the Turkish government?
So this attack shows, first of all, that the PKK is using its operation area inside Syria as a training ground to conduct such attacks. It's highly likely that, like the previous attacks of the PKK, that these attackers came from Syria into Turkey, that they infiltrated from there, and that they got to receive their training inside Syria. And this attack indicates that the fight against terrorism inside Turkey will continue, that the PKK has been pushed back inside the Turkish territory, but its presence in Syria and in Iraq has to be dealt with. But however, that being said, the complicated part is that in Syria, the offshoot of the PKK, the YPG, has managed to get the protection of the Russian army and the support of the United States of America simultaneously. So this is something very unique, that an affiliate of a terrorist organization is able to get Russian protection. The Russian military, the Russian Air Force is protecting the YPG in Syria, while also getting American funding, American weapons and equipment in the same time, in the same area. So therefore, this American and Russian common interest in protecting the YPG in Syria and supporting it has prevented Turkey from launching cross-border operations against the YPG in Syria since 2019. So for 5 years, we haven't seen any new ground operation by the Turkish army. The Turkish operations were always limited since 5 years to airstrikes and drone strikes and artillery sharing.
Okay, Ömer Özkazilcik, it's been really interesting hearing from you. Thanks for talking to us from Ankara.
Thanks for having me.